Netflix was buying transit from Cogent, and Cogent was delivering Netflix bits to the Comcast network. And Netflix is 30% of the internet. Comcast knows. They do deep packet inspection, and they're like, hey, wait a second. Cogent has a relationship with us as a network operator, as a peer. It's unfair that Cogent will be charging Netflix for something that they're peering off to us. So all of a sudden, Netflix didn't work real well on ultimately the Comcast network, the end users. There was a lot of calls and whatnot. And Cogent in the middle couldn't do anything about it because they were just passing the bit from one side to the other. It was the Comcast network that was the terminus. And that precipitated a direct relationship between Netflix and Comcast for that portion of the Netflix traffic. They still use Cogent to do other things, distribution, CDN type stuff, and also just, public routing table, transit, the whole internet, but not the Comcast part of the internet. That has now dropped out of the internet and become a bilateral physical layer direct interconnect with, a certain set of economic terms that were millions of dollars, but as far as I'm concerned, it was a precedent. Not that peering hasn't been going on forever, and paid peering's been going on forever, and people are making a big deal out of something that's been going on for, as far as I know, 15 years. But anyway, Cogent, as an ISP in that scenario, as a middleman, got cut out. That's what happened.
But I don't necessarily disagree. I just say that generally speaking, under peering arrangements, traffic is theoretically somewhat in balance. And so if Cogent is sending 14 billion bits of information to Comcast, it is also receiving 14 billion bits back. And so the theory is, well, if we're both sending each other about the same amount of traffic, why are we billing each other? Let's just call it even. And that's the whole peering concept. And the concept for the history of the internet, so far as I know, has been that when that peering relationship is out of balance, when Cogent is sending massive amounts of data to Comcast, but getting no data back from Comcast in return, or very little, then it goes to a transit or a paid arrangement as opposed to free termination of all those data. And that was the dispute. Cogent did not want to pay for the peering, for the transit of information to Comcast. And so Netflix stepped in and essentially arranged some type of arrangement, which I haven't seen, so I don't know what kind of arrangement they reached, but it was an arrangement to terminate that traffic in an imbalanced situation such that peering was no longer appropriate.
So one other, and here I'm speaking without facts. So,
wait, is that a requirement?
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody told me about that.
But there is a general trend, and I don't know how much it specifically applies within Cogent, of the edge providers, the big edge providers like Google, Amazon, and Netflix, to be developing their own content distribution networks out over time. More and more infrastructure. And they initially start relying on a lot of third-party providers. But as you build out more of your own, there's a natural evolution. Whether or not, the timing for Cogent not being part of the distribution chain for Netflix, I don't know. But in general, as these large edge providers grow out, they are putting more and more of their own infrastructure in place. And that also has implications down the road on sponsored data plans.